Guys, this is Jesse from Central Athlete, and today we are doing a 5-part series on how to grow. And what we're talking about today is recovery. And this is something that many of our clients are working towards, is how do you have years of improvement in skeletal muscle mass. And what we're really going for is we're trying to help and support people feel more confident in their skin and look better from a body composition standpoint. So we've broken down recovery into 5 more granular aspects, and this is really one of the biggest topics within how to grow, because people really know how to train and how to break down for the most part, but this is one of the missing links, is actually rebuilding. So the first thing is something that we talk about a ton, but we're going to say it again, is our basic lifestyle guidelines. And so I have about 7 of these that fit into this topic. The most important one is movement. And so specifically on our off days, one of my favorite things to talk about is Arnold Schwarzenegger. On his off days, he would swim a lot, and he was one of the kings of growth. However, we do now that it wasn't completely natural, but he was great at a lot of easy and low intensity movement. So whatever is easy, low intensity movement for you, that can be walking, that can be hiking. For certain people who have some aerobic capacity, that could be rowing, that could be versa climbing, that could be Stairmaster, that could be swimming. You just have to have years of background in those sorts of things so it doesn't get too intense. And it's really unlimited amounts of that, where it wouldn't start to deplete your central nervous system or start to fatigue you from a muscular level. The second BLG is water, drinking about half your body weight in ounces. Almost every single cell in our body needs hydration and water to function, and we need it to process lymph, we need it for blood flow purposes, so this is going to help us recover as well. Sleeping is huge for hormones. Playing and getting into more of a parasympathetic state, anything that kind of relaxes me. Chewing your food is a principle we can always go back to. Tell us about the consistency of oatmeal. Getting sunlight, having it hit the retina, which will stimulate the pineal gland and help influence our circadian rhythm. And intentional breathing. And I'm not going to go into various forms of breathing, but any form of breathing that is intentional seems to be great from a recovery standpoint. And it's really not one of these that does the trick. It's all of them done in a holistic fashion. So these 7 BLGs are key. So a lot of times when people are struggling here, we check in with our clients about how they're doing with their BLGs. The second topic on recovery is training splits. So oftentimes when somebody comes and starts working with Central Athlete, we begin working with them from a full body split, meaning it's a full body resistance training. We might do some upper body pushing, some upper body pulling, some squatting, some deadlifting, some core stuff, some single leg stuff. We're trying to hit every single muscle and every single movement pattern, and we might do that 2 to 3 days per week. We'll kind of graduate them from a full body split to a more of a push-pull scenario, and then we can get more into your prototypical bodybuilding splits, where it's bis and tris, your leg day, your arm day. Training splits can be key, especially from just having a great periodization to your training plan. The third aspect of recovery is technology can really help support you. And this wasn't true about 5 to 8 years ago, but right now we have some great technology that we have implemented from an organizational standpoint that has been just monumental in developing awareness and just helping people understand where they are with recovery. And so in terms of tracking the BLGs, I love Fitbit. It's just a simple wearable device. I can manually input my water. I can even put my food in there if I was a little bit more detail oriented, and it's going to track my sleep and my movement as well. So I love that. And what I've personally found is that I move a shit ton, but I didn't sleep enough, and my movement was really inconsistent. I would move 5 days per week, great. I'd anywhere from like 15 to 20,000 steps, and then on Saturdays and Sundays, it was closer to like 5,000 steps. So the inconsistency there, I would come back into a Monday training session and not feel that great. However, when I would train on Thursdays after my Wednesday off day, I would feel miraculous because I've moved throughout the whole week, an adequate amount. And so just that recovery really helped me. And then also a couple other pieces to help track recovery. Another wearable device called the Whoop Band is going to monitor your heart rate variability. So it's going to be able to assess what state of recovery you are and if you're in an optimal state or if you kind of need a little bit more recovery. The Omega Wave is another piece of technology that we use here, and it's really just great for creating awareness. Something else we like to do is we like clients to, before they even look at the Whoop Band, we like them to be able to try to guess what the Whoop is going to say to create that awareness, and then we'll start to see over time, does that deviation between the two get more or less, and over time we want them to be able to understand exactly where they are without the technology. The fourth piece is nutrition, something we've talked about in a lot of other talks, but we need adequate calories and we need to optimize our macronutrient ratios in order to fully recover. And I don't want to go into too much more detail, but specifically from a growing standpoint, if you're not eating enough calories, you're not going to have the fuel substrates necessary to optimize the growth of muscle tissue. And the final piece is, this is really the next frontier, yet this is what everybody talks about. Everybody's talking about cryotherapy, contrast therapy, Normatec sleeves, oxygen therapy, intravenous supplements. And this is something that is amazing and it's great when you have everything else dialed in. So your BLGs are rock solid. And honestly, I had to just work on just consuming enough water for 6 months. So really 99% of the world should not even go here, but the BLGs need to be dialed in. You need to have a great periodized training program. Having a piece of technology is great just to increase awareness, and your nutrition needs to be on point. And then if everything is dialed in, then we move into things like contrast therapy and infrared saunas and all of that. However, one thing to note is that when you train, you are purposely putting a hormetic stressor on the body. So what happens is I break down muscle tissue, and because of that, my body then needs to repair. So inflammation is a natural part of that process. Now, bodybuilders actually will pump themselves full of arachidonic acid, which is an omega-6 fatty acid, which is a pro-inflammatory supplement. And so what we see is that those people get super duper sore, but theoretically they get more muscle growth because of the increase in inflammation. Now it's really interesting because people are starting to do things like cryotherapy directly after training. So there is literature that it's still kind of mixed, but there is literature that supports avoiding NSAID, so anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen, and doing things like cryotherapy directly after training because it could potentially blunt the hormetic effect of training. So just some things to consider, guys. And if you understand how to properly recover, this is going to be one of your best tools to grow for long periods of time. So I hope you found this information useful, and I hope you come back and show me how shredded you got.